me a Parsha story. Welcome to Parsha House.
Meet Jake. Jake is 4 years old and lives with his parents in the Ozark Mountains. You see, when Jake was 2 years old, his parents said, "Enough! We've had enough of all of the noise, of the loudness in the city. We want to move to live somewhere that's very, very quiet and calm, very small town-like, in the mountains, in nature." And Jake was very excited because this summer, when he was 4 years old, his parents said that he was old enough to visit his grandparents who live in New York City, and that they would bring him there, and then he could stay there with his grandparents for 5 days. Jake was so excited. When they drove from the mountains all the way down into New York City, Jake was so surprised by all of the people that he saw. Wow! And all of the lights on the street, the noise, the sounds. This is so different from where I live in the Ozark Mountains. It looks different, it sounds different, and it feels different. But as soon as he got to his grandparents' apartment, he felt right at home. There was so much love and happiness in that apartment. And Jake's parents gave him a big hug and kiss and went back home. And Jake had a wonderful, wonderful first day. He went out with his grandmother, and when they got back to the apartment after he had a little snack, she said, "Jake, let's both have some quiet reading time now." And he said, "Okay, that sounds wonderful." So he laid down on the couch and took out one of the books that he had packed from home and started to read. And his grandmother sat on a chair next to him, and she was reading her book at the same time. Suddenly, Jack heard a sound that he had never heard before. It was a siren. A very, very loud siren. He didn't hear those kinds of sounds in the mountains where he lived. And he asked his grandmother, What is that? What is that sound?" She said, "Oh, that just helps put fires out," and continued reading her book. It was a fire engine outside on the street going to put out a fire. Jake didn't think much of the conversation. He said, "Oh, okay, thank you." And he laid on the couch and continued reading his book. And each day he did different special activities with his grandparents and enjoyed every minute of being with them in New York City. And after the 5 days were over, Jake's parents picked him up and brought him home. The whole car ride home, Jake was sharing about all of his adventures with his parents, the fun foods that he ate, the activities that he did, the baking, the cooking, the story time, the games. And then he was all talked out, and they pulled up to their home in the quiet, quiet mountains. About a week later, Jake was in his house, and his mother heard a sound from the other room where Jake was, and she heard, She said, "Jake, are you okay?" And he said, Yes, I'm good. I'm making that sound." And she's like, "Do you have a piece of chocolate stuck in your throat?" No, I'm good." And then a minute later she hears, "Jake, did you swallow a frog? What is that sound?" And Jake said, I see a fire in the house next door. And when I was in New York City, Grandma taught me that if you make that sound, that puts fires out. And his mom ran to the phone, called 911. The fire engines came, and thankfully, the fire in the house next door was able to be put out. After the fire was out, and he watched all of the action, Jake's mom said to him, asked him actually, Jake, what were you thinking? Why were you thinking that by making a funny noise with your throat, you could put a fire out? So he said, well, because when we were in New York City and I was reading on the couch, well, Grandma told me that sound that I heard, that sounded just like the one I made, that it puts out fires. And Jake's mom said, Jake, it's not the sound that puts out the fire. The sound signals to the fire station to send a truck. The sound signals that the fire engines are on their way and that everybody should move out of the way so that they could go and put the fire out. It's not the siren itself. The siren is a call to action, and that's how the fire gets put out. This week, the Shabbat right before Rosh Hashanah, we're reading Parashat Nitzavim. And in the Parsha of Nitzavim, we learn about the mitzvah of teshuvah, just in time for Rosh Hashanah. And it says that we return. V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha. Come back close to Hashem. And this mitzvah of doing teshuvah, ki ha-mitzvah zos asher anochi mitzavacha hayom, lo rechokahi, it's not so far away. Lo b'shamayim hi, it's not out of our reach. We can do it. We can become our best selves and return to be so close to Hashem. In the month of Elul, we've been blowing the shofar every day to prepare us, to wake us up, to call us to action, to let us know that Rosh Hashanah is coming. On Erev Rosh Hashanah, we take a break because it's a minhag to blow the shofar during the month of Elul. And in Shul on Rosh Hashanah, it'll be a mitzvah for each of us to hear the shofar. But if we just hear the sound, that's not what it's about. It's about listening to the sound to call us to action, to call us to think about what are things from last year that I'm proud of, and what are things that I can do better. How can I come back to my best self? How can I come back closer to Hashem? What are things that I can do in my life to bring me to even a better, closer place? And so, when we hear the sound of the shofar, let's remember that it's more than a sound to just listen to. It's a sound that's meant to bring us to action, to bring us to become better people that are even closer to Hashem. I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a Shana Tova.